Gambia, Jamala Benda, Mula, Cairo, Gambia, Jamala Benda, Kiribaramana, Adiarella, Gambia. Ibisimilah, ini lalu dan punya baru, Kairala. Jamala Diara, Adamabara, Jamala Diara, Jamala Diara, Camila President, Jamala Diara, Yurua Jamala Nati Gambia, Jamala Benda, Cairo Jamana,
Distinguished guests, I am Amibojang Sisaho, Director of Press and Public Relations, Office of the President, and your moderator for this event. We are gathered here to honor and celebrate an eminent son of Africa, his contribution to realizing the African dream of advancing Africa's development through innovations. That is no other person but Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. Please welcome him with a round of applause. I now invite the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Honorable Sidi Keita, to officially welcome our eminent guests. Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, President Barrow, President of the Republic, Your Excellency, President Adesina and Madam Adesina, Cabinet Ministers here in presence, members of the National Assembly present, media, ladies and gentlemen, all other protocols duly and respectively observed. Your Excellency, President Adesina, welcome to your country. We are pleased to receive you, and it's a singular honor that we have as a country, and today is a proud moment for the Gambia. We look back in the records, and we could not find when a sitting president of the African Development Bank has physically visited the president. as a sitting president. So on that note, you made a promise in Ghana, and you reaffirmed it in Sharm el-Sheikh that you are coming to see your brother, your host, and your friend. And welcome once again. President Adesina is the proud son of Africa. He is what they call the chief optimist of Africa. He has transformed the ADB in a manner and way unprecedented. His leadership has ushered the ADB not only to maintain AAA rating in the financial markets, but transform financial innovation. The ADB Treasury is noted to have introduced many innovative financial products in the financial market, which other development partners are copying. Thank you, Your Excellency. Since Gambia's engagement with the ADB in 1974, the bank has invested $504 million US. And currently we have an active portfolio of 15 projects, which are in 4 main sectors: 51% in transportation, agriculture, 21%, and energy and water, 25%. And Your Excellency, what we've just witnessed today is an unprecedented transaction. The signing of this shareholder agreement of the asset recycling of Senegambia Bridge. This was a dream that came under the able leadership of His Excellency President Adama Barrow and Macky Sall. This was a project in the making for decades. It was not possible. But where there's a will, there's a way. And we have a president that has a will. That's why there's always a way out. On the back of the construction, which was $104 million, this is totally grant. Free money from the African Development Bank to the people of the Gambia. And President Adesina is the chairman of the Africa 50. We are pleased that today he has witnessed the signing of the shareholder agreement between the Republic of the Gambia and Africa 50, converting that grant into funds of $100 million through asset recycling. Your Excellency, thank you. We can go on as long as time will allow us to talk about the many accolades of President Adesina. But one thing we can leave before I conclude is that he has a dream for Africa. And that dream is to transform Africa. And you have started at the right place. We'll work with you, President Adesina, to transform the Gambia under the leadership of His Excellency, President Adama Barrow. Thank you very much.
As President of the African Development Bank, Adesina is spearheading an acceleration of Africa's development under his leadership. The African Development Group increased its share capital from 93 billion to 208 billion in 2019, the highest in the history of the bank since its establishment in 1964. He has garnered global acclaim for effectively raising the effectiveness, impact, and leadership of the bank on financial innovations. In 2022, the African Development Bank was ranked as the best multilateral financial institution in the world by the Global Finance. In 2023, the African Development Bank was ranked as the most transparent financial institution by the world, or in the world by Publish What You Fund for its sovereign operations. Dr. Adesina led the Feed Africa Summit, held earlier this year, which attracted 34 heads of state and government, and galvanized development partners and private sector and farmers to transformative action for food sufficiency in Africa. The summit mobilized 70 billion to implement the actions. Dr. Adesina is a 2017 World Prize laureate and recipient of several international and national honors. as well as several honorary doctorates from universities in the United States, Africa, and Canada. Under Dr. Adesina's leadership, the African Development Bank has initiated the following interventions in the Gambia: transformation and modernization of the Banjul ports, the Senegambia Bridge, agricultural transformation and climate change, agricultural value chain projects in the country, social protection, electricity reinforcement and access across the country, institutional strengthening and capacity building, budget support to help ease fiscal pressures. This insignia is thus being conferred on Dr. Adesina in recognition of his immense contribution towards socio-economic development of the country. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Njai.
I, Adesina Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia and Grand Master of the National Order, hereby confer on Dr. Akinwumi A. Adesina the insignia of the Grand Commander of the Order of the Republic of the Gambia, GCRT Honorable.
Okay. No. Thank you, Mr. President.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, yes.
President of the Republic of Gambia, Honorable Minister of Finance, senior government officials, honorable ministers, Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly, friends of Gambia, staff of the bank, Executive Director of the bank representing Gambia. It's good to be here today, Your Excellency, Mr. President. I would like to say that this is a trip that has been long coming. And I had promised the President, as he had from the Minister of Finance, that I will come. But somehow, something always happened that I was not able to make the trip. And then something happened again this week. And I had invasive surgery on my gum. As you probably can see, my gum is a bit swollen. And the doctor did it on Tuesday, and it was this huge. And I was packing it with ice. And I told myself, whatever happens, even if my jaw was going to break, I was going to be here. And one of the things that the doctor did was he had a bridge on it. And so here was I trying to look at a bridge and they were fixing the bridge on my tour. Mr. President, I'm here in 3 capacities before I thank you as the president of the bank, your bank, the African Development Bank, as your brother and as your friend. I want to thank you and commend you for your outstanding leadership for your country. I also want to thank you because of the great honor that you have just done me to confer upon me the Grand Commander of the Order of the Gambia. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. President, I love Gambia for 3 reasons, apart from other things. You may not know, but I actually did work here. In the 1990 to 1991, I was a young economist with the West Africa Rice Development Association. And at that time, I was doing research with the National Agricultural Research Center here in Sapo. We were looking at tidal rice and upland rice and lowland rice and all kinds of things at that time. Secondly, I also want you to know that I have a great affinity for the Gambia because of a competition between your country and mine. And it has to do with rice, jollof rice. And we always said that jollof rice belonged to Nigeria. But then I began to have a lot of big debates with my Gambian friends, eventually with the Director General of the Bank for Nigeria, who is from here, Mr. Lamin Barrow. And I was told that there is an area here in the Gambia that is called jollof. So I gave up. Mr. President, you have intellectual property right for jollof, so thank you very much, sir. I will give up on that one. But the other third reason why I have affinity for your country is the way in which you conduct your elections. Mr. President, you're the first president to have a democratic transfer of power since this country was done, and so I want to commend you for your election and re-election. And the 2 things I want to say about your election and re-election. The first was your election. Mr. Barrow, who is from here, worked at that time as the director of my office. He walked in the day you were elected. And he said, Mr. President, Mr. Barrow, His Excellency just got elected as President of the Gambia. So I looked at him. I said, you didn't tell me you're on the ballot. So it was very good. But I was then told that the way in which you do your elections is by marbles. And that this country is the only country in the world that does that election by marbles that way and no contestations. And so I wanted to move a motion that the world should adopt the Gambia marbles model. It will save us a lot of money in running elections. It will also save us a lot of contestations in terms of elections. Those are the 3 things that gave me a lot of affiliation for here. But Mr. President, whenever I go on any trip, most times I go alone. But this time I have my beautiful wife with me here, Grace. And thank you for the great honor, but I will not be here, neither will I have been honored, if not for this great woman here. I always say 60% of my success is due to her and 40% is due to me. And when I had all these tooth problems, and the doctor, I had to see the doctor yesterday, he said, I have to clear you to travel. I said, please, I must travel. And then Grace said, then I'm going to go with you. And so I know you have your Minister of Health, but I also have my Minister of Health. Mr. President, I'm delighted with our work together as a country. because the honor that you've given me today is not just personal for me, but also it reflects the partnership, long-term partnership that we have had with your beautiful country since you joined the bank in 1974. And a marriage that is 50 or so years old, that has a lot of children, that's a good marriage. And I think you should clap for this country and the bank, because we have lots of things to show for this development marriage with the Gambia. Since we started, as the Minister of Finance said, our investments here have been about $540 million. And currently we have a portfolio of roughly $284 million. And our portfolio, Mr. President, covers many areas. It covers transport, it covers infrastructure, energy, agriculture, governance. It also covers water and sanitation, among several others. But one of the areas I'm most proud of was what you and President Macky Sall did in 2019 in commissioning this magnificent, beautiful bridge, the Trans-Gambian Bridge that was named Senegambia Bridge by His Excellency President. Mr. President, I wish I was there that day, but I was told, because the executive director of the bank was here, the bank staff were here, there was a lot of jubilation that day, a lot of excitement, because it's something that has been looked forward to for more than, I don't know how long, forever. Congratulations, Mr. President. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for the leadership also of your friend and brother, President Macky Sall. This was an investment. Actually, we put in $104 million into this project. And just to be clear, this was not a loan. This was 100% grant, which means it's free. So that's our gift to the government and the people of the Gambia. And of course, the impacts of this have been quite significant, transformative, as you explained to me, Mr. President, today. I was with your ministers earlier this morning, and they were explaining to me, including your Minister of Finance, about the impact of this work. I was told that, in fact, the number of vehicles that used to throughput in that place used to be about 534 cars per day. Now you have 15,000 cars per day. Now you have the time the president was telling me it could take weeks, sometimes because of the backlog for people to be able to move. Now it takes 10, 15 minutes and everything is done. That's what leadership is about. You have a great leader, and I think you should be very thankful to him for that. And Mr. President, you didn't stop there. You thought about the access road that has to connect to the bridge. I would like to say that it's not just about the African Development Bank, it's also about our partners, because I don't know how to work alone. I always work with others. And we have the European Union that provided also a co-financing for us, about 16 million euros, to co-finance the development of that 24-kilometer road that we actually saw today. So I would like to thank the European Union Commission for their straight partnership with us. But infrastructure is very expensive, Mr. President. You told me today, the President told me, there are three things that are important for an economy. The first one is infrastructure. The second one is infrastructure. The third one is infrastructure. And I always say that infrastructure is like a backbone on a body. If you have a backbone, you can stand straight. If you don't have a backbone, you can't stand straight. No economy can stand straight without infrastructure. And I think that what I actually admire today is also the signature of what's called asset recycling. And I want to thank you, Mr. President, for agreeing to that asset recycling. And I will explain it to Gambians so that they understand. I chair the board of Africa 50. And you just heard about our work. We're a very transparent institution. In fact, ranked the most transparent financial institution in the world. So I can be free to tell you things. It's nothing we hide as an institution. Now, because it's very expensive with debt overhang on governments, it's important, therefore, for governments to find a way of optimizing the assets that they have and being able to free it up to do more things instead of just government carrying the weight of debt. And that's why I'm very proud that at the bank and also at Africa 50 that I'm chairman of, they came up with what's called asset recycling. Essentially, asset recycling means you're turning over in a way in the concession to a private agent to manage the asset and immediately free up the money that you've locked in the asset. So in this particular case, we worked, the managing director of the Africa 50 being here, signed with the Honorable Minister of Finance, an agreement today, and under that agreement, as a concessionaire, it means that immediately we free up $100 million for the government of Gambia, just like that. It sounds like some kind of gambling, no, but it's not. It's actually a very sound way of managing an economy and managing limited resources. So I would like to congratulate you, Mr. President, for your foresight, your Minister of Finance for your foresight in agreeing to that. And you can use that money for anything you want because it's your money. You just freeze it up for you to do more. Your Excellency, Mr. President, there are several things that I also want to say today about our support for you. When you were talking to me today, you were talking about infrastructure. One big infrastructure you have is the port. The port improvement here. And we as a bank are committed to providing for you $24 million towards private work to be able to upgrade that port of the Gambia. Mr. President, one of the 5 strategies of the bank is Feed Africa, and that's what you're graciously doing for us this afternoon, is to feed us. And we as a bank have put in $32 million into the Gambia to support your work on poultry and rice value chains. But we're not stopping there, Mr. President. Today I was with you and you showed me a young man who came from the United States doing rice. And I did promise you that I will make sure that we support you with your leadership for this country to be fully self-sufficient in rice. People that know me know that I don't play with words. Never say things you don't mean. You can think with your head, but you must always act with your heart. And when I listened to the president, and I made that promise to him, unknown to him, and I'm telling him now, I immediately entered my car and I called my team. And I said, I would like you to come straight to the Gambia, walk with the president, make sure that the GISAL, which is the Gambia Incentive-Based Risk Sharing for Agricultural Lending, is immediately deployed so that we can help the entire value chain in this country for rice. I started doing my research here on rice a long time ago. In fact, I love rice, Mr. President. I eat rice in the morning, afternoon, and at night. If for breakfast also, I like it for rice. So if I'm giving you advice on rice, I am an interested party that actually loves the commodity. That work will be done and the team will be here. I've already instructed them to do so. But beyond that, Mr. President, is energy. The Minister of Power is here. And I was talking yesterday at the airport as soon as I arrived, as much as my mouth will allow me to do so. And I was talking to the Minister of Higher Education. I don't know if he's here. Minister of Higher Education, yes. And we were enjoying our conversation talking about pharmaceutical products. And I look on my side, and the Minister of Power said, oh, Mr. President, just 1 minute. You know, all he's talking about wouldn't work if there's no power. So he very quickly got his word in about power. Your country is blessed of God. You have 400 megawatts capacity for solar, 200 megawatts capacity for wind, and maybe about another 25 megawatts capacity for biomass. So there's no reason why you shouldn't have electricity. But we are committed, Mr. President, to you in helping you here. In fact, in July, we approved another $21 million for a rural electrification expansion project for the Gambia. And that, Mr. President, is on top of a $36 million, in fact, $37 million that we provided to do the OMVG, which is a transmission line that allows you to have access to electricity. In fact, it has allowed Gambia to expand access to electricity from 35% in 2015 to 65% today. So congratulations for that, and we'll continue to work on that. And I'm very pleased that about 1.3 million people have benefited from that, and more work still needs to be done. When I was talking to the president, he told me two things that made me feel his heart. He told me women, and he told me youth. Now, if you women here, honestly, I want to ask you to clap for your president. Because he told me that women here are very entrepreneurial, very committed, and that he is determined to make sure they support women. And I told Mr. President that I offer our support to him and to the women of the Gambia to establish in the Gambia what's called Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, which is a program we have to mobilize $5 billion for women. He directed the Minister of Finance, and I want you to know that we will establish that with financial institutions here. Women don't default. They always pay back their bankable. Then the Mr. President talked to me about youth, and I could feel his heart about when you say you have 65% of your population that are young people. And it just brought my mind to the young people of this country and football. You have a guy called Badamosi. Badamosi, is that his name? Yes. And I want now call Yemi. There are two of them that scored goals for you recently during the qualification cup. And Badamosi scored at exactly 79 minutes. Mr. President, the young Gambians are fantastic. And the way they played that day was incredible. And so I told the President and the Minister of Finance from the President that the African Development Bank will help to establish here, subject of course to receiving the request from you and approval from our board of directors. I have no doubt that the executive director here will do the justice to that, to establish in this country what's called Youth Entrepreneurship Investment Bank. We just approved $16 million for Liberia for that kind of bank. We're going to do a few. Mr. President, these banks are different banks. In Africa today, as I go around, I see many young people taking rickety boats and going to the Mediterranean. It makes me extremely sad to witness such, because the future of Africa's youth does not lie in Europe. It doesn't lie in America. It doesn't lie in Canada. It doesn't lie in Asia. It must lie in an Africa growing well and able to create quality jobs with pride for his own people. And that's why we are going to help to establish these banks here. They will be banks exclusively for young people, because you have to create youth-based wealth. Mr. President, you have our assurance that we will help you in that regard. Mr. President, what's failed me now to express to you my deepest appreciation, gratitude, gratefulness, humility for your consideration of me for this great award. Sometimes I ask myself, what have I done to merit such? Because as my wife will always knows me about this, I said, my life is only as useful to the extent that it is used by God to improve the lives of others, nothing more. And I want to thank you for the encouragement that this gives me, but not only me and all of my staff, the entire bank directors, executive directors of the bank, in our work to continue to support you. I want to leave you with this assurance that the African Development Bank will stand beside you. The African Development Bank will be around you. The African Development Bank will strongly support you. And we will see more fruits of our development marriage even in the years that are ahead. Mr. President, I would like us to, with due respect, Your Excellency, because as I told you, I don't walk alone. I love working with others. But today, if you give me this award, and there's nobody here, who will be here? You will just shake my hand and I will thank you. But all these great people have been here today. I would like you to please rise, except the President. Please join me by saying, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
For this great honor, for which I'm most grateful. Please hold the hand of the person next to you. You know, we have a baobab tree here, right? You have big baobab trees. Now, baobab trees are so big, if you put your hand around it yourself, you can't do it. But if everybody puts their hands around it, then it gets done. Today, I feel like a baobab tree with all these people all around me. Thank you, Mr. President. God bless you. And may God bless the Republic of Gambia.